Dylan! You son of a bitch!
So Predator is one of Arnold's most iconic movies.
It's up there with Terminator with the most quoted lines ever.
So many of his iconic quotes and, images come from this movie, I would say.
This was definitely a movie that cemented Arnold as one of the great actors of the time.
This movie was so successful that it was able to kick off a big franchise. I think the opening does something, explanatory where it tells us that there's an alien presence. But then the opening on the helicopter where we see all the characters is one of the most efficient I've ever seen, where we know everything about each of them just from their first appearance.
So then they enter into the general and we learn about the mission briefing.
And we get an idea straight away of their status from, the introduction they get where they're brought in on the, vehicles and the private helicopter and stuff to the base. And there's an outsider status given straight away to Dylan where he's kind of sitting at the table drinking by himself.
And you can see his great relationship with Dutch.
Yeah, one of the most iconic scenes in this movie.
Dylan! You son of a bitch!
It establishes really well Dylan is the outsider, how he used to be like almost a part of Dutch's team.
What is this fucking Thai business? Oh, come on.
And then the mission is kind of briefed on.
And you can almost tell instantly, just by the way that Dylan and the general were looking at each other, this isn't true.
Yeah, you can see straight away Dylan starts to simplify the story to him, and we get the idea that, he's in this intelligence business and he knows how to manipulate people into what as tools for himself. We can see that despite Dutch and Dylan's apparent friendship, Dutch is actually reluctant to let Dylan in on him, saying,
General, my team always works alone.
We can see Dutch's honor code when he says,
"We're a rescue team, not assassins."
And as well, we kind of see later on that the Predator has his own sort of honor code. The helicopter scene then where we see both sets of the team interacting with one another. We get a perfect encapsulation, I suppose, of each character's, mannerisms.
Like Blaine with his fucking protein bar, was it? And then Hawkins with his shitty jokes. We see the discontent among the team when Blaine spits on Dylan's shoes.
And we also get that iconic line where Blaine says,
"This stuff will make you a goddamn sexual tyrannosaurus, just like me."
And almost instantly start getting suspicious about their mission.
Yeah, Billy, the tracker for the team, notices a downed helicopter that was done by tracker missiles.
And it's as Dutch said, guerrilla fighters wouldn't have heat-seeking missiles.
Billy's able to smell some skinned green berets.
I ate green berets for breakfast.
Sort of a trope of movies where, you got a slasher type character where there's a disagreement between the survivors. But this distrust and deception between them, as Dylan denies any involvement in this, I think is a great setup for the trouble they're going to get into.
Definitely. And it also shows how Dylan isn't the stand-up guy Dutch thought he was. Predator's thermal vision. And it gives us a great indication that something's wrong.
And I think it's really famous in this movie because it looks so visually distinct.
Definitely.
And something I appreciate here is, I know these aren't exactly the best actors, but they really do convey the shock and awe very well, where we understand that this is something new.
Definitely. And I love the way how they initially thought it was the guerrillas, how they were just being barbaric.
And then on the way to the rebel camp, Mac threatens Dylan, who's kind of clumsy and keeps falling. When they're observing the rebel camp, first off we see, their tactics, and we see straight away from Dutch's reaction the idea that, he hates a fellow American die.
Especially in such a brutal way where he couldn't even fight back.
And something that's kind of interesting to me here is we see them sneaking past all the traps. It's kind of like the Predator themselves.
They're the Predator in this situation.
And then it's a really awesome action scene where, they take out the rebel camp, seeing, Dutch lift up a truck.
What the fuck?
And I think This is why Arnold and all of them were such a great cast, because there wasn't for a single second where you doubted that these guys could do it, you know? One thing that I thought was, a few of the lines during the fight scene, I thought they were a bit ham-fisted.
Yeah. Stick around. Knock, knock.
I personally do like them, and the fact that Arnold improvs them as well. I do like the sound of the minigun really does suggest firepower.
And I love the amount of explosives that they had.
And the quick cuts in this scene really do create a lot of intensity. So then when they're clearing up, they take a prisoner from the base, Anna. Dutch realizes that Dylan's, setting them up for an intelligence securement.
You said it's all bullshit. All of it. The cabinet minister, the whole business.
And in that conversation, I think Arnold gives a really good acting performance when he's showing the anger and kind of betrayal that his men are being used for a mission that he thinks is not their level.
My men are not expendable. And I don't do this kind of work.
And this obviously comes as a great shock to Dutch, but then audience as well. And we start looking at Dylan in a far more negative light.
And as well, the exact word that he uses, expendable, kind of implies that only those of most value will survive.
Where we see the Predator mimicking voices.
I think it really does show the power of the Predator, and it's sort of like Terminator, where, you're not sure who you can trust in a way.
And I thought it was so good what we didn't know about him.
So then they continue trudging through the jungle, and I think something that's really important here is that they show the danger of the jungle naturally, as we see, scorpions, snakes. It could be to enhance the actors', physiques, but it's also kind of interesting that they all take off their second layer. That's important because we know the Predator works best in heat.
And what I also really liked about it was, all throughout the movie, you can see them sweating, and then Anna tries to escape after that.
We get a very human feeling characters here where they're all worried and they're all feeling the danger, and the acting here really does emphasize it, where you see, the wide eye reaction. So then Anna, who's now with Pancho, tries to flee from the group.
So then Hawkins chases after her and eventually catches up, and then the Predator kills him.
And it's such a brutal murder where he just appears last second and we see his outline, and he just stabs him. You see all the blood on Anna's face. As well, we really do see how brutal the Predator is when he drags away the body, leaving just the guts.
We can almost see how Pancho, when he finds the guts, he just cannot believe it.
Yeah, he almost vomits when he sees the corpses that the Predator leaves.
Definitely, and it shows they're so human at the end of the day.
Again, showing off the danger of the jungle, Blaine sees this sort of hedgehog thing, and that's when the Predator gets him.
It first shows off the Predator's cannon.
Predator is not willing to get near Blaine.
And then we see Max almost freak out and attempt to shoot him.
This is a really cool scene where you got thousands of rounds of ammunition being shot by these big guys.
They were just wasting all their ammos,
It really does show how clueless they are in this situation. So then the Predator kind of escapes through the trees, and we see it turn off its camouflage to heal. And it's the first time we see the Predator.
And we still don't get a full, proper look at the Predator, keeping that mystery.
And then the yellow blood really does make him seem more alien, the fact that it kind of glows. It's a great scene where we see Mac grieving Blaine, and we get the idea that these guys aren't just soldiers to one another, despite what Dylan says.
They are not expendable to each other, as Josh said. Predator ends up stealing Blaine's body. And this is the first indication to the group that this isn't regular. These aren't just random commandos as they assumed beforehand. They always assumed beforehand they were doing the hunting. Afterwards, you see them setting up all traps and preparing to attack the Predator.
And it's another scene where it kind of emphasizes how big and powerful these guys are when we're seeing them pulling down trees. But I do like the cut where it's Dutch speaking to him and then it's him getting full on involved. It's like the way the cut is done. It's kind of funny. And Dutch, I suppose you could say, realizes that the Predator is only going to come if there's human bait.
Get another sense of just how scary the Predator is, because Dutch would have just died there, No warning, no nothing, just death.
As well, we see them kind of coping where Pancho is saying to Billy,
Billy, you know something. What is it?
I'm scared, Pancho.
Bullshit. You ain't afraid of no man.
There's something out there waiting for us. And it ain't no man.
We finally see him decloak for the first time and we get a full body shot of the Predator. Pancho's injured and is almost taken out of it.
Mac chooses to pursue the Predator. Dylan, kind of completing his road to redemption, follows Mac, feeling the guilt, I suppose, and not wanting another man to die on his watch.
We see Mac actually finding the Predator. Dylan hears Max's voice.
And I think it really does show how kind of versatile the Predator is, that he has another tool, that can manipulate people so well. I do like that it's Max specifically, because with Mac it's so personal, and then Max climbing or kind of going through the logs. Then we see the 3 dots. Dylan isn't as skilled as the rest of them. He doesn't notice the Predator.
There's the very famous scene where his arm falls down, but is still holding the trigger. It's not an honorable death, it's just death.
Billy kind of resigns himself to, this is how it's going to go down. I've got to do something myself. Kind of funny how he pulls out like a machete, like the size of a sword or something. It shows kind of how over the top the rest of the movie has been.
And what I also thought was quite interesting was we didn't actually see Billy's death. All we know is Billy died screaming.
And then we get the famous, iconic line,
"You are not sending me to the corner."
Run! Go! Get to the chopper! Get to the chopper! Get to the chopper!
Get to the chopper! Well, let's get to the chopper. Get to the chopper. Get to the chopper! Let's get to the chopper! Let's get to the chopper! Let's get to the chopper! Get to the chopper. Let's get to the chopper! Get to the chopper! Goddamn that one, huh?
It's also very interesting that in this moment, he holds strictly true to his values.
We're a rescue team, not assassins.
I also wonder how many people thought at this stage that Anna would be the sole survivor of this movie.
I actually reckon it would be a majority.
So then I really like the twist where he's going in from the water and you think like he's dead for sure, and then it's the mud that camouflages him because it blocks off his, thermal energy.
And what I also particularly liked about it was he dragged himself out and he was like, oh, I'm safe. Just here, a splash of water. And the Predator's down there with him now. We finally see Arnold learning the Predator's weakness, how he cannot see. We see both of them almost doing their pre-fight ritual.
And it's kind of interesting as well that they're both becoming quite primitive. Dutch is using all these, lesser evolved tools and weapons and traps. And then when he's summoning the Predator, he yells out this primitive, almost caveman style yell. And obviously the Predator then is shown, ripping out people's spines, something barbaric.
Definitely.
We kind of get this role reversal now where Dutch is the aggressor.
To the Predator, Dutch is now invisible and the Predator is now visible, where that's been the complete opposite the entire story.
Yeah, and then there's this great bit of tension in that scene where the Predator is passing Dutch as he's camouflaged by the cliff. As well, here Dutch has a bunch of tools as he shoots homemade explosive arrows at the Predator. Dutch runs out of weapons that he can use just off the land, and the Predator is finally able to find him again. Here the Predator really does show off his honor.
What do you think of the final 1v1?
Well, I think it's a really epic moment where you see the Predator unmask himself, and he's completely hideous. And I think Dutch says it best when he says,
You're one ugly motherfucker.
I also like that when the Predator looks at Dutch, all he sees is bones and skull, and he's unable to see the human side of things.
I really did not like the first-person views from the Predator. You just couldn't really tell what was going on. What do you think of the absolute beating the Dutch got?
I think it shows his kind of fighting spirit that he's able to survive all of it, and he continues going, believing that his trap can help in some way. I also love how the Predator fools him when he creates that circle.
The Predator doesn't fall for Arnold's first trap, but he falls for the second one as he kicks out and the humongous log falls on top of the Predator, almost mimicking what happened to Poncho.
I also love the bit where he's taunting the Predator and he's like,
Come on. Do it. Do it!
Come on, come on! Kill me, I'm here! Kill me! I'm here! Kill me! Come on, kill me! I'm here! Come on! Do it now! Kill me!
It's almost like Dutch's humanity comes back when he decides not to just smash him with a rock, which would have been the more caveman style. And when he says to him, the Predator mimics the line. But I do really like the idea that the Predator has never encountered anything like that either.
I also thought it was really funny when the Predator put his thing into his wristwatch.
The explosion then shows that, the Predator will never play fair, really. When Dutch finally gets to the chopper, like, he looks physically exhausted and he looks like crap, you know, he beat to hell. And it's a great ending to the movie. So I think Predator rightly deserves its place amongst, you know, the all-time action movies, and it's definitely one of Arnold's best. John McTiernan's direction and the writing is very economical, it's very efficient, the group dynamic is there, the premise is obviously very interesting. I think the effects look very well for 87. I do think this movie is helped along rather subtly by Carl Weathers, who had a big influence on the other actors and is very skilled in his own right in playing a bit of a complicated character.
I would completely agree with you on most of the points. Weather was amazing, the effects were phenomenal, they hold up even today, the group dynamic was great, you understood everyone's relationship with each other and their personalities within the first few minutes of the film. The only issue I've ever had with the film, I thought the music at times was quite jarring, and it made me think far more of the music than the actual scene that was going on. It became distracting at points.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
This is my kind of a day.
A star is not only to sell tickets, he's got to take command of the set and be a leader.
So I think Arnold Schwarzenegger here as Dutch does a great job where he really does convey a lot of fear and make the situation feel kind of real. His character as well definitely sells the movie as he's the cool guy and the leader. And obviously he had a big impact, as he usually does, behind the scenes, bringing in other cast members and kind of creating this high standard.
Well, working with Arnold Schwarzenegger is a pleasure. Consummate professional. Totally prepared.
And I think with Arnold as Dutch, and as you said, showing the fear, it just amplified it so much more.
He also has that superhuman ability to make any sentence a catchphrase.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Imagine get to the chopper with any other person.
Go get to the chopper.
Then what do you think of the Predator itself?
I think Kevin Peter Hall does a great job in terms of making the Predator really agile whilst being such a big frame and being able to lift that heavy suit.
Kevin Peter Hall, you know, he plays the most iconic role in the entire series, you know, the helicopter driver. And I think the fact that the Predator was almost a foot taller than most of the other cast members, it really showed how much more physically dominant they were.
It's from you. Now get your people the hell out of here. You can't win this, Dylan. Maybe I can get even.
Carl Weathers here plays an intricate role where he's got to play a guy who is going to go from being trusted to being suspicious and kind of betraying everyone to then being on the path to redemption. And after Rocky being the co-star in this movie, I think it's a role that only he could have done.
He was probably, as you said before, one of the best actors in this entire film. The range of emotions that he had to hit was second to none.
You ain't afraid of no man.
There's something out there waiting for us. And it ain't no man.
It's kind of funny that Sonny Landham had a stipulation in his contract from the insurance company where he had to have a bodyguard with him at all times to make sure that he didn't fight anyone else during production. And I think Billy does a good job in the movie of, you know, showing off a guy who's an expert in something that doesn't undermine the other characters.
And he really adds so much to the character, so much power and mystique that none of the other characters have, while, as you said, not undermining them. And what do you actually think of Hawkins?
Yeah, they deliberately put in glasses to try and make him more nerdy on Hawkins. It's quite possible that Shane Black was brought on board for his ability to write the script as it went, and plausible that there are changes that he wasn't credited for in the script.
You wouldn't quite bring in Vita to do the acting if you didn't also want him to do a bit of the writing, you know?
Bill Duke returns to work with Arnold again after Commando, playing Mac, and he really does show off a guy who is taking things more personal.
And he also sells how nervous you would be in this situation, how much fear he had.
As well, I do like the idea that he's shaving on the helicopter flight to show off his composure, but then he's shaving to try and get it back.
And we see he just cannot do that as he breaks his shaving. Bill Duke invented that for his own character.
This shit's something. Makes Cambodia look like Kansas.
You're hit. You're bleeding, man.
I ain't got time to bleed.
Jesse Ventura also returns to working with Arnold after The Running Man, which was made very recently to this. And Jesse Ventura, as a former wrestler, I suppose, has the personality and the line delivery that you need.
Richard Chaves and I were both Vietnam veterans, and we wanted to do a scene together.
And he's the exact sort of guy that you'd want carrying the minigun. I do think that Anna, going from being such a rebellious character and trying to escape to, you know, looking for survival with the group, really does validate the Predator's threat.
And what I also particularly loved is she gave the extra context. The Predator was almost here for centuries.
So is there any other Arnold movie you want to do?
Well, we couldn't do our Schwarzenegger series without doing this one.